everyone. Welcome to B'nai Noach Connection with Israel Torah for the Nations. Today is the 8th day of the month of the 8th month, August, in the year 2019, here in Israel. And here in Israel, it is 3 a.m. And we're so glad for all those that are joining us and others that will be watching the movie. We get together and we discuss. By the way, just for your own information, we usually get on about 15, 20 minutes early if people want to discuss things and they don't want to have it involved in the taping we do. So we have just an open discussion, everybody talking. So if you come a little early, it always helps. And it's nice to see back again. Of course, Terry, our host, co-host from Tennessee. I'm from Spot Israel, Troy and Carla, Thomas, Angela, Scotty, Devorah, and Veronica. And it's so good to have you guys with us. And look at this. We have a community now. See? No matter where you are in the world, and no matter where you are in the world, you have a community. That's one of the first questions I get from people when they first contact me. And from Minnesota, Devorah, okay. And we got Canada, right?
Yes.
And everybody else is USA, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. People on this side of the world aren't going to get up this early in the morning. Our friends from the Netherlands and Croatia and Latvia and all those, it's kind of early in the morning for them. And they have to get up and work. Oh, my computer's making noises. I hope my computer lasts at least another 2 weeks. I'm trying to get the money together to buy a new one. Dan had the same problem. We use them up. Mine's about 5 or 6 years old, and we're trying to get some money together to get a new one. Fortunately, ours doesn't cost what his is going to cost. Wow. I didn't know computers cost that much.
He does a lot of big graphics and stuff, and so it's
a
lot more for graphic controls and
I got
chips and stuff like that.
Yeah, he does a lot of video stuff and graphics and all. I don't do as much as he does. Anyway, welcome. It is really, I'm excited every week when we get together. It just makes me feel so good. You guys come and join us. Just to remind people, we do meet with people for counseling and coaching. Why do I look like I'm not looking at the camera? I don't know. We meet with people privately for coaching and for helping, answering questions, helping people through problems, especially you first hit the walk, it's tough. You find yourself with no friends, family coming down on you, and all kinds of other things. So we're here to offer support and help and to get you through the first initial steps of your closer walk with God. Today, we're going to be talking about something from Rambam, and that is, I forgot already. It says, Rambam says, precise in their observance is, in other words, be precise in what you do. And the observance, we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Psalm 37. So let's start with being precise in what you do. Nobody's perfect. Nobody can be like, you can be really precise when you measure something or when you're cutting wood to put something together to build it, or a piece of metal, or you're putting on a lathe to make it part of a machinery. You can be really precise. I can't even to millimeters and really tiny EPP things we can't do with our mouths and with our actions. I like for people to remember that God doesn't want perfection from us. He wants progress every day. Wherever we are, he just wants a little further progress every day. He wants you to in your relationship with him, just come a teeny bit better every day. Sometimes it comes in big leaps and bounds, like a lot of you have gone through. And other times it's just little tiny things. Fix this, fix that. For me, one of my big successes every day, I do my Shacharit morning prayers to see how far I can get through them strictly with Hebrew. Now, I've been speaking Hebrew for a lot of years, But these guys, when they pray, there's a rhythm to the prayer which is very fast. And sometimes, even if I speed read in English, I can't keep up with it sometimes.
Oh, I know. I've been there. I've tried. I don't get off the starting line, and they're in the Neda.
There you go. We have a young boy at our evening at the congregation for Mari, for evening services across the street from the house. He was just bar mitzvah about 3 months ago, and he likes to do it every day. And he just goes, oh. I mean, he goes so quick. But these kids grow up in it. They grow up speaking Hebrew, and they can, when you read any language, when you guys read English, you're not reading really. You're just recognizing a word. Your brain recognizes a word, you know it immediately. When you read, when you're first beginning, you have to sound out each letter so you know to pronounce each word. And it's a little difficult. Those of you that haven't learned a different language haven't been through this, but it's like when you're back in kindergarten and first grade and second grade. And then you learn to recognize words. And so your brain catches them real quick and your mind understands very quickly. So in Hebrew, it's kind of hard. Sorry there. It's kind of hard until you really get into it. And I've been doing the prayers now just only 4 years, actually. But I'm pretty proud of where I am. But every day I get a little further, just a teeny bit further, a few steps further. And it makes me feel better every single day. And that's a little part of a tikkun that I do for myself and for God every day. Some guys say, you can't say in Hebrew all the way through. Then there's a problem. I said, no, it isn't. God speaks every language. What difference does it make? I'll just get to it as quick as I can. So being precise in your observance of what God wants from us, like the 7 universal laws, means doing the best that you can with the knowledge you have right then and there, but knowing that there's always a way to better yourself. So this is what Rambam talks about, being precise in observance. If you know and you've learned to a certain point, this is the way it should be, don't get lazy. Don't back down on it. Just have it that way. Look, the most important thing for us guys is to remember something, and I talk about it all the time. When we go to do something, when we go to, even if it's a little tiny thing, like somebody asks for some money, you're going to give them $1 or 50 cents. You give it to them, that's being precise in what you know how to do at that point. But let me tell you something even more than that. What we do down here, a little tiny action, by the time it gets up to heaven, it's huge. You've done this thing that you think, oh, it doesn't mean much. But when and I say heaven, I'm saying, to God. Because think about everything. It's like the sun. The sun is a ball of fire. When you look at it, you don't see sun rays, you don't see anything, you can barely look at it with your eyes. But when you sit in your living room and you see a sun ray come through the curtain and make a spot on the carpet, or just shine on the carpet or on a coffee table or something, that little sun ray started in that big ball of fire up there in the sky, and it was filtered down like this, contracted down so you can see it, whatever you're looking at. So when you do something small, as it reaches back up to Shemaim and to God, it expands like this. And the power in it expands. It's released like this. That's like a little atom that if you break it, you can blow apart a whole island. That power, that little tiny thing you did, where you say, well, you say, it's really not significant. It is very significant. Every little action you do. By the way, every action you do from the good side, and every little action you do from the not so good side, the same reaction happens. It expands on the way up. So when you go to help somebody, no matter how little bit the help is, let's say you help somebody carry some groceries across the street or up the stairs. This deed, oh, I only helped him carry her groceries, helped him or her carry their groceries. Actually, it has a tremendous effect amongst the angels. We say the angels sing and rejoice when people do good things like that. And it moves them. And they sing your praises before God. Little tiny thing you can do. So it's not the size of anything. It's doing the action and being precise in doing the action, doing it when you're supposed to do it. So essentially, that's what Rambam means by being precise in your actions, in what you do. We know we're not supposed to murder. Okay, well, how can I be precise in that? I'm not going to murder anyway. But when you study through what it actually means to murder somebody, you can murder them with your mouth. You can murder their reputation. You can murder a lot of things about the person. You can say something that someone misinterprets as something bad about the person. There's all kinds of things that can happen when it comes down to do not murder. And there's much more. I'm working on a matrix right now so that we can actually publish a chart for people to look at. I'm just going over it again so I can just put it up and have it pretty much a good picture for people. When it says don't eat the limb of a live animal, it means a whole lot of things, not just that physical thing. When it says be faithful with your partner, it means a lot of things. Not just being faithful to your partner, it covers all the different things that we're not supposed to do. Be precise. Go ahead, Terry.
Would you say that growing into the details of the seven would be a form of Hasidic, piety for the righteous non-Jew?
Absolutely. It's a part of your growing. See, everybody's worried that they got to know all this stuff right away. There's no such thing. All you got to do is start following the 7 basic categories or universal laws and learn as you go. A lot of people don't remember something. When Israel was called before God at Mount Sinai, and he started talking, and they couldn't handle the power. And so they said, Moses, you go talk to them and bring us back the word. What did they say to God? Tell us, we will do, and then we will hear. In other words, we'll just do what you say to do. We're not going to ask questions. We're going to start our lives doing what you want done, whether we understand it, don't understand it, whether we think it's logical, illogical. We're just going to do it because you, God, our King, our Father, told us exactly what you want us to do. You can explain it to us later. And some of the things have been explained over the last 3,300 years, and some things you just can't explain because we can't think like God. But the first step in anything is just do. Everything else comes later. Once you start doing and you're precise in what you do, you don't we're used to saying things that include God's name in them as derogatory comments, and we stop doing that. And we hook up with the one true God, our Creator, our King, our Father. We think about Him before we do anything, every time we go to do something. Or if we start to feel anger, frustration, jealousy, the negatives come up in us. As we feel that come up, then we have to say, wait a minute, God doesn't want this. And your ego, the you, the self, is going to say, yes, I do. Oh, yes, I want to punch that guy. Oh, yeah, I want to slap that person in the face. And then you got to say, whoa, wait a minute, but God doesn't want that. And so you force that energy down inside of you. Look, I know it's not easy. When I was a young man, the only way I could call it is snap anger. What do I mean by that? If I was on the floor dancing with my wife and somebody bumped into me, it started. And part of dancing is steering and staying clear of other people, not constantly bumping into them. When we used to dance as couples together. But if it happened twice, I'd say something to the guy. If it happened the third time, he wasn't on the dance floor anymore. That's the kind of guy I was. He wasn't going to keep bumping into my wife or have his wife bump into my wife and interfere with our dancing, and I would get like that angry. It would embarrass my wife. I just would go, oh. I'm 6'4", 240 pounds, pretty big guy, very strong. I could lift somebody in a heartbeat. I can just pick them up, set them where I want to set them. And I would do that. And I learned you can't do that. Part of my fixing myself was getting rid of that snap anger, getting rid of jealousy, getting rid of all the negative traits. I used to get all upset when someone called me names. And my father taught me when I was still in grade school, he says, first of all, is this person important in your life? Do they affect you every day? I said, well, other than have to see them every day at school, no. He said, so why waste your anger on this person? Why let that person control your life? That's the way my father used to explain it to me. And I thought about it as a kid, and as I got older, I thought more about it. And I've learned that nobody's going to control my life but God. I'm going to trust him in everything. And the major switch for me came in 1970, I don't remember, 73, 74, something like that, when the first time I actually went to God and prayed to him directly as a Jew, and he performed a wonderful miracle for my daughter. And I'll just say it real quick. We lived up in the mountains by Tilson, New Paltz, New York, up Route 9W. And she was at a friend's house, and I got a phone call that she fell down on the ground. She was having some kind of convulsion. What do you want me to do? He said. I said, I'm coming to get her. I'm going to take her to the hospital. It was quicker for me to get her to the hospital and wait for an ambulance to come all the way up where we were. And I took her to the hospital in a small town called Kingston, New York. And after about an hour, hour and a half, the doctor came out to me and says, I'm sorry, we don't know what's wrong. We don't believe your daughter's going to last the night. We've got her on breathing apparatus, whatever. The first thing I did was get angry and pick him up and slam him into a wall. And then I realized what I was doing, and I let him go. And I called a friend of mine on an ambulance, and I said, get over here, bring your wife. She was an RN. We got to get my daughter up to Albany Children's Medical Center, about 90 miles up the road. He brought his ambulance over. We got there. I don't remember. He said, don't look out the window. Just look down between your knees. We're moving. It seemed like it took about 15 minutes, but 90 miles takes more than that. We take her in emergency room. She ends up in children ICU, and they told me the exact same thing, that we don't know what's wrong. There's nothing we can do. We can't figure it out. She's all wired up. We got her on a breathing apparatus, but we don't believe she's going to make it till morning. So I'm out in the waiting room, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do? So I go into her room. I chase the doctors out. I chase the nurses out. I said, nobody comes in the room until morning. And they looked at me like I was crazy, but I meant it. And I closed the door. And I took my daughter's hand, and the first time in my life, I think I really, really seriously prayed to God. And I told him, look, take me, leave her with her sister and her mother. If you need somebody now, take me. And I fell asleep. Then I woke up about an hour and a half later with an idea in my head. And being Jewish, we go back to God and we talk a little bit. And I told him, I said, look, I'll make a bargain with you. Here I'm bargaining with God, right? I said, in the morning, if she wakes me up, if I'm asleep and she wakes me up and everything's okay, I'll just be yours the rest of my life. I'll do whatever you tell me to do. I'm just yours. Well, believe it or not, the next morning, I fell asleep. The next morning, I feel somebody shaking my shoulder. I look up, she's wide awake. She says, what are these tubes doing? What's going on here? Why are we in the hospital? And of course, I just start bawling. And the doctors come running in the room. What's going on? I said, here's my daughter that you couldn't take care of last night. Well, they couldn't figure out what happened, not going in and not coming out. And they studied it for 2 years afterwards to try to figure out they couldn't. And I was so excited that this happened, I forgot I made a promise to God. And I got her home that afternoon to her mom and her sister and everything. She's another 8 days, she's going to be 52 years old. And she's had a good life. Everything's been good. She's got 3 kids. And anyway, I forgot that I had promised God that I was his the rest of my life. But he's a patient guy. And I'm here to tell you, between that day in the 70s until 1999, in the middle of August, I forgot that I had promised him I'm his. But I want to tell you something. We never had a child, never had a sickness in the family except a cold or a runny nose. I worked in car sales, made a lot of money, blew it, but I made a lot of money. And everything was just peaches and cream. It was great. We had a great life. And we would go to shul. I was more on the conservative reform thing. It was called Reconstructionist back in the day. But in 1999, I decided I need to pray to God again, like I prayed the first time, but for something else. And as I'm praying, it's almost like I heard him say to me, I got you. You told me you were going to work for me. Now's the time. And from 1999 until today, I've been working for him. And he's controlled everything in my life up until now, and he still is doing it today. That connection to God is what does it. That honest heart connection to God. And that's why I should pull up Psalm 37. Because I was reading it, and as I'm reading it, this whole thing that I went through, the whole thinking process came back to me. And let's see. Okay, it's 40 verses, and some of them I'm going to read quick, but I want to discuss some of them. It's a Psalm of David. It says, do not compete with the evildoers. Do not envy those who commit injustice, for they will be speedily cut off like grass and wither like green vegetables. Trust in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and be nourished by faith. Now, he's talking here not only about physical, but he's talking about spiritual also. When you're nourished by faith, now what does it mean by faith? Faith is faithfully doing what he wants you to do. Trust in the Lord, do good. Do not say, if I do not rob and steal, or if I give charity to a poor man, how will I sustain myself? Do good. You will dwell in the land for a long time. That's Rashi's comment. And it says, be nourished by faith. Rashi says, you will eat and be sustained from the reward of your faith, that you believed in the Holy One. Blessed be he, to rely on him to do good. Faith here, emunah, in Hebrew means faithfully doing what God wants. Be precise. He wants you to give charity, give charity. He wants you to volunteer, volunteer. Be precise in what you do. Verse 4, so you should delight in the Lord, and he will give you what your heart desires. Commit your way to the Lord and trust in him, and he will act. and he will reveal your righteousness like the light and your judgments like noon. Other people are going to be affected by the way you live. Wait for the Lord and hope for him. Do not compete with one whose way prospers, with the man who executes malicious plans. Desist from anger and forsake wrath. Do not compete only to do evil. Evildoers should be cut off, and those who hope to the Lord, they will inherit the land. A short while longer, and the wicked man is not here, and you shall look at his place, and he is not there. Be humble, you will inherit the land, and they shall delight in much peace. The wicked man plots against the righteous and gnashes his teeth at him. The Lord will scoff at him because he saw that his day will come. The wicked initiated war and bent their bow to cast down the poor and the needy, to slay those who walk on a straight path. The sword will enter their heart, and their bows shall be broken. The few of the righteous are better than the multitude of many wicked. For the arms of the wicked will be broken, but the Lord supports the righteous. The Lord knows the days of the innocent, and their inheritance will be forever. The Lord knows the days of the innocent. He recognizes the deeds that you do. And your inheritance will be the everlasting life, or moving on to the next level of life, as I like to say. For they will be ashamed in a time of calamity and days of famine. They shall still be satisfied, for the wicked will perish, and enemies of the Lord are like disappearing light on the plains. They're consumed in smoke. Yes, they are consumed. Okay. 21, a wicked man borrows and does not repay, but a righteous one is gracious and he gives. We'll get into that in a minute. For the blessed by him will inherit the land, and those cursed by him will be cut off. For the Lord, a mighty man's steps are established, for he delights in his way. If he falls, he will not be cast down, for the Lord supports his hand. He's saying, if you fall, if you go away from the path, you make a mistake, you will not be cast down, for the Lord supports you. I was young, I was also aged, and I've not seen a righteous man forsaken, and his seed seeking bread. All day he is gracious, and the lambs his seed is due for a blessing. Shun evil and do good, and dwell forever. This psalm is full of just be right, just do what you're supposed to do, and Hashem takes care of you. God takes care of you. You don't have to worry about anything. The righteous shall inherit the land and shall dwell forever in it. The righteous man's mouth utters wisdom, and his tongue speaks judgment. The law of his God is in his heart, and his feet do not falter. Again, being precise about how you follow the 7 universal laws. But if you fall, you don't have to worry. God's got your back. He's got your hand. He's holding you up. He's just going to say, okay, you missed the mark here. Let's keep going. The Lord shall not leave him in his hands, and he shall not condemn him, the righteous, when the wicked is judged. Hope to the Lord and keep his way. He will exalt you to inherit the land, and you will witness the destruction of the wicked. I saw a wicked man, powerful, well-rooted as a native, who is fresh, and he passed away, and behold, he is not here. And I sought him, and he was not found. Observe the innocent and see the right, for there is a fountain for the man of peace. The transgressors were destroyed together. The future of the wicked was cut off. The salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. Their stronghold in time of distress. The Lord helped them and rescued them. He rescued them from the wicked and saved them because they took refuge in him. Here, the true meaning of the word salvation comes out, where you're rescued from the things in life. You're rescued from the bad things in life, from the transgressors, from Egypt, from bad situations. That's what you're saved from. That's the salvation. Once you're righteous, you've already learned and earned the right to be taken care of by God. Even if you fall down, it's not like, oh, wow, man, God's disconnected from me. No such thing. Hey, George. No such thing. He never leaves anybody alone. Nobody is unworthy. Everybody is worthy, and each one of us is worthy of the exact same love and care that Hashem gives to every single human being. All you have to do is connect to it. That's where your free choice comes in. But as you read through this, you see that if you just do those 7 universal laws, every human being, then it's like, how can I say, you're home free. Like when I learned to trust God for what was going to happen, when that miraculous day happened in that August back in 19, I think it was 74, but I don't remember the year. I just remember my daughter's now 52, so it was a long time ago. I trusted him in everything, even when I was the bad guy. From the 70s until 1999, you think I never smoked weed? You never think that I didn't cuss, that I didn't have maybe get drunk once in a while? I was in the car business, salesman. Made a lot of money, but we used to party hard too. I wasted money. I didn't give what I was supposed to give to the Lord as far as financial and everything else. He didn't abandon me. In 1999, when I was praying about somebody else, it was like, and I joke about it with Shira, I say, it's like he says to me, gotcha, time to go to work for me now. And that's what happened in 1999. When you trust in him and you just do and you don't have to understand anything, just do those things that he asks to do. Treat other people with kindness, compassion, do tzedakah. And we're going to talk about that in just a minute. If you do these things in a precise way, which doesn't mean the precision of engineering like we just talked about, it just means if you know that right now, the right way you know how to do it, you do it. And when you find out, oops, I'm not quite doing it exactly right, let me add some more precision to it and some more precision to it. So that's what he means by being precise. Not like, uh-oh, if you don't get it right, somebody's going to knock you over or something, or you're going to be punished for it. So I just wanted to get this point clear, is the trust in God. If you have a problem, if you have something you're thinking about, and you're spending time turning it over in your mind, and you're hoping for this thing, what he wants from you and each one of us is not to be so preoccupied with it that it affects other parts of your life. What he wants you to do is say, okay, God, I trust in you to take care of this perceived problem that I have, or real problem that I have, and let him do his job. And you go about your business without overthinking, without feeling like you're a victim, without living your life surrounded by whatever it is you're thinking about. See, one of the things I greatly don't understand, and I'm not trying to cut anybody down, but I can't understand this whole business about you're a sinner and you spend your whole life trying not to be a sinner, and if you trip a little bit, then you're being cast into some eternal furnace or something. I just have never understood that, because God is a God of love, and everything he created is good. And we have what is called evil, or the other side. You have good and you have the other side of good. I'd rather call it that instead of evil. And the Rebbe calls it that too, the Sitra Achra, the other side. And we have a choice to make. Are we going to do this, or are we going to do the opposite of it? And if every morning you get up and you decide you're going to do this and not the opposite, it's the best way to be. Sometimes we slip during the day. Sometimes we fall down. Sometimes we do something we shouldn't. That's why we start the day with what we call modani. What's the first thing everybody thinks about when they open their eyes in the morning? For a mother, it might be, got to make 6 lunches and breakfast and get the kids off to school. Or someone that works a job, oh man, I got to get in there and I got all this stuff waiting. But as soon as you open your eyes in the morning, you're thinking about this stuff. Your brain is racing ahead during the day. But if you get in the habit of, as you feel yourself waking up, first your mind goes to God. You do the Modeh Ani prayer, which is in any Jewish prayer book, which essentially says, I thank you, or I'm thankful before you, King. We don't use God's name yet because we aren't fully awake. So, and I thank you for returning my soul back to me with, and I have to get the exact translation, with mercy and grace for another day.
And great is your faithfulness.
Pardon?
Great, you end it with great is your faithfulness.
Great is your faithfulness. You say to God, great is your faithfulness in me, that you give it back to me today. Thank you, Terry. We're thanking him for being faithful to us. But what did he do? He gave us our soul back for another day to use. So is he not having faith in us? Like people ask us to have blind faith? No, he's faithfully doing this and giving it back to us because he knows we're going to treat it properly for that day. As we go through the day and we constantly remember that, then let me tell you that it makes your day better. It makes your day so much better and sweeter. And you get to the point where someone can look at you and scream and yell and cast insults on you, and you're quiet. You know, somebody sideswiped my new car. It's not a new car, it's an old car, and left a note on it that he did it. And so I went up to the body shop today, and the guy in the body shop asked me to, he started explaining to me how, and this is a guy, he's not wearing a kippah, he probably goes to shul maybe on Shabbat once a week. And this is here in Israel. He says to me, you know, I really have learned something from Hashem. I said, what's that? And he says, and this is recent, I've learned it. He's in his 50s probably. He says, I've learned that I don't have to be angry at somebody. And if somebody yells at me, I don't have to yell back. And he says, Hashem has put this in my heart. And he says, I never realized this before. He's in his 50s. And then we got into a big discussion about why God does these things. And because of the way I'm dressed, by the way, every place I go in Israel, somebody wants to talk about something about Torah or this, that, and the other thing. Which is embarrassing for me. I go into a store to buy a knife and the guy wants a blessing, you know. So I bless people, and people come up to me on the street and ask for a blessing for a shidduch. They want a blessing for a shidduch, and I have one that I give people for that. And nobody knows who I am. They just come up to me and ask these things. I started a couple of years ago. I was sitting at the airport. And the guy comes up to me and he was Arab, and he says, I would need a blessing from you, Rabbi. And I said, first of all, I'm not that kind of rabbi. And he says, no, I want your blessing. I know that you can give me a blessing. This is an Arab guy who was Arab Muslim. And I did, and he walked away just happy, you know. Anyway, the point is, if you project yourself, the way you walk, the way your face looks, that you have a smile on your face when people look at you, you have a smile in your eyes when you talk to people, they're going to relate to you. And just by little things you can do, you can plant the seed for them to join with the God of Israel, no matter what religion they are. Psalm 37 is your promise from God, or one of the many things that are promises from God, what you gain by just connecting to him. Once that's done, you really don't have to worry other than just fixing things in yourself that need fixing, so they're more you're more precisely doing what he wants you to do. Understand that whatever you're doing at that moment is precise for you. But as you learn more, it gets more. It's like when you try to teach a kid to draw a straight line. You tell them to draw a straight line, and it's, oh, let's play a straight line. By the time they get into kindergarten or second grade, they just go, see, I have a straight line. You know what? None of us can draw a straight line. When you draw that line on a piece of paper, it's not a straight line. It's something that's impossible to do, but it's as precise as we can possibly do on this physical earth. Any straight line is simply part or a segment of a huge circle. There is no precisely straight line. You may say it's straight. We look at the boxes around our pictures here, and they look like straight lines, but they're not. We perceive them at this point in time as straight lines. It's as precise as they're going to be. I don't know if you guys remember that back in the day, when you looked at the screen and pictures on the screen, you saw little boxes, the pixels. You could actually see them. You can see it. You could see when you saw somebody's face, you can see the pixels around their face, around the hat. Today it's gone because we've learned to be precise is what we know to do today, so it looks a lot better. Animations are better. Everything's better. But what's better right now is precise for right now. It's being done the best way it can be done for right now. I saw something amazing. There's this new way of doing lectures and traveling. Someone can stand in a studio and give a lecture in English, and they project holographically on a screen wherever it's supposed to come out, and there's the person, exactly with the clothes on, the same clothes and everything. And let's say it's in Japan. As I speak in English, the computer with the AI, they call it, artificial intelligence, speaks it out in Japanese in my voice. That's really some precision for today, but it's going to get even better. And if you're a Trekkie like me, one day you're going to be able to step into a little box and come out anywhere you want in the world, and it's instantaneous. You can't do it yet, but it'll happen. Can't wait for that. Hate being on airplanes. So what we have here is being precise for what we know for today. If go to a museum and look at a sword that was made in the beginning of the Bronze Age or the Copper Age, and look at how they make swords today. Everything is precise for its time, but it has to keep moving forward and getting better. And that's us. We have to remember that we always have room for tikkun, for fixing ourselves. And the Hasidic view is, the minute you fix yourself, you're fixing the entire world. Look, when we look at the world and we grow up, and growing up in America, we're a very critical society. You walk out of the house and you see a guy's haircut and you go, look at his haircut. Or the pair of pants somebody's wearing, or a dress somebody's wearing, or a pair of slacks somebody's wearing. That's the first thing in our mind is being critical. It shouldn't be that way. We should look at that person and say, there's someone else in the image of God, just like me.
I think it's a major. I feel like that whole statement you just said about recognizing the image of God in another person is a major detail for the Noahide laws. Because, and the reason why I say I fall back, I don't know why, I fall back to that in Genesis 9 where it says, a man shall not shed blood of another man. And he doesn't give any other reason. Only reason why is because that other person was created in the image of God. And that, I don't know, that's grabbed a hold of me. That essence of that passage has grabbed a hold of me. and apply it to every one of the commandments. We don't do this because we're all, most of the, the commandments is how you're treating someone else. Well,
Right.
if you go all the way to murdering, is because you're not supposed to, because of he's in the image of God or she's in the image of God. Well, neither should I do this. Should I do this? Should I do this? Because everything becomes, and the image of God becomes an issue of everything that He's spoken to. That's my feelings on that.
No, you're exactly right. That's what the whole idea of tikkun is. Remembering, look, also the Hasidic way of looking at things is, no matter how we look at somebody, no matter how evil they are, how bad they are, we have to look for the good in them. We have to look for the good in them. There's a portion of, I don't remember if it was a rabbinic ruling or halakha, but back in the day when they had the judges and you had 3-judge panel and a 5 or 7-judge panel, when the accused got up in front of them, let's say he was accused for murder, and the case is presented, and people saw him do it, everything, and it just looks like open and shut case. The judges would then decide guilty, not guilty. They were not allowed to decide immediately. They had to wait 24 hours. But if all the judges came back and said the man was guilty, he was set free. What do you mean set free? Everybody saw it. He's guilty. Everybody's all guilty and stuff like that. God says there's no such thing as a person that doesn't have good in them, no matter what they've done. So if there was nobody to stand up and talk about the good in that person, if nobody judge could have said, wait a minute, I have some doubt, then you guys were just doing this emotionally. You weren't doing it properly. And so the person was set free. That's one of the reasons why when people are arrested today, if you don't have an attorney, we'll provide one for you. It goes right back to this part of the Torah where you must have someone to speak good for you in court, in front of judges. Today it's in front of the jury. Jury is not a concept of a Torah concept, by the way. It's a democratic concept, but it's not a Torah concept. The Torah says we stand in front of our judges and they judge. And I think last week we talked about why certain judges are picked or something. It doesn't make any difference. The point is, no matter what somebody does to you, no matter what how injured you think you are and how insulted you are, you have to look for the good in them. This week I had an example. I come back after prayer. My car was parked on parallel parking on Jerusalem Street. And as I'm walking up to the car, half a block away, I see a big white piece of paper on my windshield. I said, oh boy, let's see what this says. And I had a sign on there that said, I don't know if you can see it or not. They can't, can you? Yeah, there it is. That's backwards. Who knows? It just has a guy's name and a phone number. It says, please call me. Before I even called him, I walked around my car. I knew it had something to do with the car. And sure enough, in my front left fender, somebody had crumpled it up, like sideswiped it. My first instinct was to get angry. And I said, why should I get angry? The guy left me his name and phone number. Why should I get angry? Why should I get upset? Now, I've only had this car like 6 or 8 weeks, maybe 10 weeks. And it's not a brand new car, but it is pretty darn new. With low miles and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I sit down in the car, I call the guy, and I look down the street and I see a guy with a phone walking up the street looking at me. So I get out of the car and he says, "Hi, I'm Yaniv, and yeah, my wife sideswiped your car this morning when she came to pick up our kid to go take him to school. He owns a health food store there, we know each other. In the end, we realized we knew each other, and we took care of everything. It's all done. It's a hassle, but it's all done." That's why I was at the body shop earlier today talking to that guy. But the point is, I could have just gotten mad. I could have yelled and screamed at him, told him what an idiot your wife is. Couldn't she see the car? But instead, I chose to take the other path. The first thing when he walked up, I said to him, "Thank you for leaving the note." Very first thing I said. I didn't say anything about my car. I said, "Thank you for leaving me a note with your phone number." He had a smile, and then after that, everything went pleasantly. And he took me up the street to his insurance man's office, and we got it all settled. And next week, they're going to put the car in the shop and fix it. It's how we approach things. Remembering that person walking up the street to tell me that his wife sideswiped my car, he's also in the image of God. So if I yell at him and get angry at him, I'm getting angry at God, so to speak. Anybody you treat poorly, anybody you don't take care of in a proper manner, you are treating God improperly, since we're in his image. Which takes me to one more little subject I want to talk about, and then we can just open things up. It's the thing about tzedakah, the kindness, doing kindnesses to people, for people. Do you remember when Abraham beat the 5 armies and freed Lot and came and he met a guy named, I think in English you call him Melchizedek. Melchizedek is the way we say it in Hebrew, which means the king of righteousness, from a town named Salem, and it translates. And what is the first thing Abraham does when he's greeted by Melchizedek? Is that how you pronounce it in English? Melchizedek?
I've heard it different ways. I prefer the Jewish way of it because it's
Melchizedek.
Yeah, Melchizedek.
Yeah, immediately took 10% of everything, just put it down in front of him. Nobody asked for nothing. And from this, we end up going through a whole bunch of teachings, ending up with 10% of everything we touch that comes into our house is supposed to go back out of our house. Minimum 10%. Most Jewish people do between 15 and 20%. So don't have to be so nitpicky and keeping track of every penny. So it's easy to come up with 15 or 20, but to make it exactly 10 is pretty hard. So we're being precise in what we do for God. We gave him the 10, and there's a little more just to make sure we covered the 10. So what are we supposed to do with this? The church calls it a tithe. The Torah calls it a tithe. And there's a chart in some of the books that show you what the tithes were used for and what years so much was given. In some years it was a double tithe. Essentially, the tithe went to the Levite because they had no inheritance in the land of Israel. They had no physical property. And so to make sure that they were taken care of for the work they do, it went to them. And don't forget, the Levites were the local people. In other words, as they got older, they stopped working and they'd be sent to different towns to live in and to teach in the town and do things. So that's how they got their pay. People that came from the tithing. When the Levites got it, they took 10% and sent it to Jerusalem, to the Kohanim. When the Kohanim got what they got, 10% went back into a warehouse to go back out to the people again. Minimum. I'm talking about minimums here of 10%. So in other words, what is it saying here? That everybody was taken care of somewhere through this cycle of things going on. The Christians call it tithing to the church. Jews don't do that. What we do is if the church has a membership, if our synagogue or shul in America, lots of them do it, they have membership fees. They aren't counted as part of your tithe. They're not counted as part of your 10%. Here in Israel, we put the money, there's a box, just like it described in the temple. There was a box at the entrance where people put money in, and if they wanted to just donate, and we put it in when we go to pray. We make sure that every time we go to pray, we put some coins in a box. You should do that in your own home, by the way. Have a little coffee can or something. It doesn't have to be a lot. You can put a quarter in there, a dime, a penny. Every time you're going to pray, before you start praying, just put a little money in there. And when it gets filled up, take the whole canister and give it to somebody or some charity that you want to give it to. That's not tithing either. That's just getting in the habit of reaching in your pocket every day to do a little bit of something, some good. There you go, tzedakah box. When you come to Israel, they're all over the place. Every place you go has tzedakah boxes for something. But the actual 10% is something you reach in your pocket for and you help somebody with. It goes to, you either have a fund at our shul, we have a fund where we give it and say, okay, this is to buy people's food this, at the end of the week. It gets handed out to people to buy food or clothes or something like that, or buy school supplies, buy new shoes, whatever it is. And nobody keeps track, by the way. You don't give, nobody's going to say, hey, why didn't you give some money? But it goes back out to the people. There's also a responsibility to those who teach that they're not supposed to charge fees, nothing like that. But there should be some kind of help to the people that do the teaching because they're taking their time. Wait a minute, I'm not asking for anything. I'm just explaining something to you because you may have other teachers that you would rather give to. It's okay with me. The teachers do this on their own. I've seen posts on blogs. This guy is great. He's been doing it for 5 years and hasn't asked for a penny. But he shouldn't have to ask. Time. The person is taking the time out of their life to grow you and your relationship with God, so why not give them a little bit to help out, or her, or whatever. This is taking care of the image of God in that teacher. This is helping that teacher. So I'm just saying, whatever, this is what is called kindness. It's not called charity, it's called kindness. Tzedakah is being kind. Tzedek, being right. So think about it. I mean, some people give to the cancer fund and some people give to heart fund and all that. That's beside everything else. That cancer research and stuff. Still give to it. Yeah, go ahead, Terry.
I had a real life example of this in front of me. The Rabbi David, who taught me Hebrew when I was very first few steps when I was studying for conversion. I got to be with him for a week. I met him through another person, and this guy became a teacher, a teacher of mine teaching me Hebrew, and he studied an hour a night, 5 nights a week with me on the phone, teaching me the prayers and the Hebrew and teaching me, a lot of stuff for my learning for conversion. But when I stayed with him for a week, he taught me about what you're saying here, about this kindness. He shared with me he would take me to shul with him in different places. And he always, in his pockets, he kept change, like in one pocket, and he maybe a few bills in the other pocket. That way, if he's davening somewhere, if he's gone somewhere and some somebody comes up and asks, or if there's like a tzedakah box, he had something to give all the time. Then at home, on his counter, where his wife kept all their Shabbos and their Yom Tov stuff, he had a thing where he kept bills in there in case someone knocked on the door, raising money for a wedding or a sick person or somebody who needed help with bills. He put himself in a situation where he always had something to give. And I thought that was really good. He just shared that with me. And my wife and I have adopted that, like in our giving, we have certain people that we support. We've got a place in Israel that we support monthly. We've been doing that for about 7-8 years, and different things. But one of the things we do, because all my wife and my daughters all worked in the service business, and my youngest daughter still works in the service business as far as a bartender and serving tables and stuff like that. And that's a hard life. A lot of people, especially here in the United States, don't know that they only make $2 an hour. They live off their tips. That's their living. And so my wife and I, we give a lot of our stuff through tips when we go out to eat. Because we know that, especially we have good service, we take care of our servers, because we know that's helping them pay their bills and stuff. And that's one of our ways that we give, that we make every time we go out. And we don't give the 10%, 20%, or 30% like they look at. We know what we're going to give, which is generally more than what they always ask for on the receipts. Just developing the kindness and giving, and a giving attitude, and I think is what Pesach is showing us what tzedakah is, the compassion toward one another. Whether it's a teacher, one who waits tables, a poor man. Just the other day, and my wife and I went to the grocery store after work on the way home, and we don't give to people that's standing on the corner in the United States. A lot of that stuff is a joke. But there was a poor person wasn't even standing out in traffic. He was sitting on an island up in a parking lot next to his grocery cart with all of his belongings in it, sitting there reading a book, minding his own business. And my wife, she says, when I come out of the store, I'm getting some money. When I come out of the store, if he's still there, we're gonna go to him. And we did. And she spots that stuff like, bam. One of the things that she does that I really love about her is that there'll be times at the grocery store, there'll be a person that, you can tell that they're on a limited income. She'll pay for their groceries. Not say a word, just tell the cashier, bring them up, or, put that with mine. And that's what she does from time to time. She looks for people to do that.
Yeah, that's more, things like that, though, don't come into the line of tzedakah in that particular way. Things like that, when you buy somebody's groceries or you pay a bill for the person, yeah, it's being kind to the person, but it goes up a level beyond tzedakah. It's lots of times when people do that, they get a return on their investment. Not all the time, but lots of times. God finds a way of blessing you back because you bless somebody else.
We just thought it was part of tzedakah. That's just how we thought.
Yeah, well, that's fine. You can as part of tzedakah, but it goes a level higher, actually.
Well, that's the first time I've heard of that.
There are different levels of tzedakah and charity. Thomas says, take his mute off. Let me just say this when Thomas, you can say what you want after that. There's different levels. There's the levels where someone comes to you and asks for money and you give it. There's a level where you go up to somebody and give it before they ask, which is even a higher level of giving, like what your wife did to that, when you guys gave to that man that didn't ask, just sitting there. Then there's a level of giving where you give it to somebody and they give it to the other person in your name. Then there's a level of giving where you give into a fund and people know that you've given into the fund, and that fund gets distributed to people. But the absolute highest level of giving that you can give to anybody, well, before we get there, you can give and know that a certain family received money from you. And so every time you look at that family, you remind yourself, oh, look what I did for this family. It's a little bit of a pride issue. There's the issue where the person will know where the money came from, then they feel beholden to you. The very highest level of the kind of tzedakah like you give to people in need is where they don't know where it came from and you don't know. There's nobody that you guys can pass each other on the street. There's no pride. There's no feeling of beholding. There's nothing.
Kind of like that situation in the movie Ushpason.
Which movie?
Ushpason.
Yeah, right.
the situation where the money came to the people who had to pay the rent.
Right.
But it was anonymous.
What we do, well, we haven't done it here in Sfat yet because our funds kind of went down and we're trying to build up so we can do it again. But in Kiryat Yam, where we used to live, we made a deal with, here you have the little corner grocery stores still, the little old-fashioned ones where people come in and write down on a piece of paper what they bought. And once a month, when they get their health checks, they come in and pay and then start all over again. So what we started doing is going into these stores, and we used to say, okay, first of all, is there someone that owes you a lot of money that really needs some help? And the owner of the store would tell us, yeah, well, this person kind of run up a bill and they can't get it paid off, and they got 8 kids, 6 kids, 5, whatever. And we just paid the bill for that person and told him, don't say anything, that we had anything to do with this, but now you have the money to put stuff back on your shelves again to help other people. Or we go in and during holiday time and we give them money and say, okay, if somebody comes in and needs milk or bread for Shabbat, or they need some holiday supplies, we're giving you this amount of money, just give it to the people. Just give it out to them. And a couple of times I was in the store, especially Rosh Hashanah, Hanukkah, Purim, Passover. But one time I was in the store around Purim time, and Purim's a big kids' holiday. And kids get candy and they get all kinds of stuff, you know. I went in to pick something up. It was right around the corner from my house. As I come in the door, I hear this lady, she was crying, and the store owner, his name was Michael, said to her, it's okay, don't worry about it. She says, well, I couldn't have done anything for my kids as far as pleasures, in other words, candies and sweets and celebrating Purim, if you hadn't given me this stuff. And all he said was, and I just walked into the store, all he said was, there's someone that comes by and gives me money to take care of families like yours. They started weeping and I hugged them and walked out. Now, I walked into a situation where I knew who that family was then. And I was very happy that I could help her out, and that God evidently wanted me to see this, how the help was helping somebody. But I was so thankful he didn't turn around and say, oh, that's the guy that does it. Because I didn't want that kind of recognition. And I did this for years in the neighborhood and in the adjoining neighborhoods where we go in and pay bills for people. This is what really, really helps. Paying for somebody's groceries is a fantastic thing to do. Last time I was in the States, I was in a store somewhere near Lovettsville, Virginia, a supermarket. And a lady went to the store, and then I see her. She had a bunch of women's magazines, you know, the kind by the counter. And evidently she went over her budget, and I saw her telling her to take these magazines off, and then she put a couple of cans of beans, to take those off. So I turned to the cashier and said, just let them go through. If she's short, I'll pay. Cashier looks at me and says, you're going to pay for all them stupid magazines this woman's buying? I said, yeah. She wants them. Put them through. Now, what happened here in this interaction was this woman behind the cash register was judging this other lady for the reading material she was buying there. What's the point of doing that? We look at them and somebody say, I wouldn't read those, and this is silly, and there's a picture of some flying saucer on the cover with, some lady had a child with alien. This might be this lady's only escape from a reality she's in right now, that she needs these things as an escapist type thing. She might need it so she can go to bed at night and not have nightmares. Who knows? But you never judge people for anything.
Right.
So I told the cashier, I said, it's not your business anyway. It's not your money. Just put them through and I'll pay. And the lady just looked at me and smiled and let her through. And the cashier, when she checked me out, she's, going through that. She was all grouchy with me. And I turned to her and said, you know what, lady? You do a lot better off if you put a smile on that face of yours. And I left. I don't know what happened after that. All I'm saying is this is the little fixings we do in ourselves that maybe will fix somebody else too.
Right.
Terry, what do you got to add?
It's Thomas was wanting to say something.
Oh, Thomas. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, well, I got to go, but I was going to say that maybe your car got hit on purpose because you said the guy at the shop there had something to tell you. Maybe you're supposed to be there. That's why your car got hit.
Could be. That's why you just got to take everything in its stride.
Yep.
God's in charge of everything.
Right.
Y'all take care. Besides, thank you for getting up so early in the morning and doing this. I had a good lesson today. Thank you. Terry, everybody else, Angelica, Troy, all of you.
Bye-bye. And Scotty's got his hand raised.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead, Scotty.
You guys mute on?
Go ahead, Scotty.
Am I unmuted now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. We do everything that y'all have talked about, but I was encouraged by a video several years I saw by, and if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, the Levitic Church rabbi. Did I say that right? Anyway, he was giving dollar bills out at the end of the meetings. And so when I get paid, now we give to our charities and everything. We do just exactly what you was talking about, Terry. When we go to the restaurants, we try our best to bless above and beyond. But I started this, I don't know if I want to call it a tradition. It's been 3 or 4 years ago. When I get paid, I get $15, $20, sometimes $30 in $1 bills. And everywhere we go, like if we go to a Sonic, I'll tip the girl, but then I'll give her a $1 bill and I'll say, this is for you to take and give to a charity box, from you to the charity box. And a lot of them don't even know what a charity box is. So I get the opportunity to explain it to them. Well, now the people at the bank, they asked me what I was doing. So I told them, now they're doing it.
Wow.
And now to catch some of the waiters, we go to the same restaurant every Saturday night, my wife and I and family, and I catch them doing it. They'll take that dollar and they'll add $1. And so it just makes me, I can't explain the feeling of putting somebody else in the position that causes them to give. So anyway, that's all I wanted to add on to that.
Well, that's cool.
I got to say something about this. When you do something that causes somebody else to do something, you get credit for everything they do also, because you're the instigator. You're we call it in Hebrew, the mania. You're the thing that started it going. So when you give money like that, and you see other people that you've given to are doing the same thing for other people, every time they do something, your credit is on it also. God remembers those things. So you have been giving blessings to people, and by them giving to somebody else, you're getting blessed again. And it's really a great thing, because this is what it's all about. Can you imagine if we could do that with peace? Stop fighting. You treat somebody nicely, so they treat somebody else nicely. You treat somebody else nicely. When you give out each dollar that you give out, you create a good angel. That angel goes to that next person, who then creates another angel, and it gets spread and spread and spread and spread to good angels. If you ever heard the expression, S flows downhill, you've all heard it, right? S, 4-letter word. That's the bad angel. You get up in the morning, you have an argument with your wife, you go to work, you're a manager, you chew out your assistant, the assistant goes and chews out the next guy lower down the pole, the next guy, and then the guy that takes out the garbage ends up getting beat up because of you got an argument with your wife in the morning. That's creating a bad angel. Not bad, but an angel that does not do good. Let's put it that way. It's the opposite of good, so it's one that does not do good. So, Scotty, every time you guys do this, it's amazing what you're doing. And when it affects other people, you get credit for the effect that you had on that person that made them do what they do. And then when the third person down the line does it, there's now 3 names on that list. This is how blessings work. And it's an amazing thing you're doing. And we say in Hebrew, kol hakavod, more power to you. It's the way to do it. All honor. Kol hakavod means all honor to you for doing what you're doing. It's a wonderful thing. And it's the way we're supposed to be with people. When you do good for somebody, they're going to turn around and do good for somebody else. And it's passed on and on and on. And this is what God wants from us. So if we can be peaceful with our enemies, we can, by the way, I turned the screen off because I had to scratch my nose and stuff. I didn't want to do it on the screen, but I'll tell you that's why. This is a very important thing. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Yafet, I think it is, who made a promise that the first thing that comes through the door of my house, I will sacrifice to God. And it was his daughter after he won a battle for the Israelites. 3 or 4 times he's sent to make peace, because that's what we're supposed to do. We try to make peace. And if somebody wants nothing but to attack us, we have to do what we got to do to defend ourselves. And he won. By the way, the whole story about the young lady being sacrificed to the Lord didn't mean they went and killed her or anything. She became a servant of the Lord in a different way, and there's all kinds of stories about it. I used to think for years, how could he sacrifice? Why wasn't it a goat or something that came through first? Why was it his daughter? Because I used to think, before I had the knowledge of it, that he'd sacrificed his daughter, which is forbidden. And it was one of these things I stumbled all over for a while until I learned the truth. There's always a deeper meaning to everything. But the point is, every time you do good for somebody, every time you help them in a positive way, not in a critical way, you've created this good angel that they're going to pass on to somebody else. This is what God wants from us. This is how everybody on earth is going to get to know who God is. By you guys, you don't have to evangelize. You just have to do. Even if you don't understand what you're doing, if God says do it, do it. All the teachings and everything else can come later. That's why every time you pray, you put a few coins in a box in your home, and then you give it to a charity, or you give it to somebody who comes to the door, whatever you want to do with it. It's to get you in the habit of reaching in your pocket to help people. But reaching in your pocket is also spiritual and not just physical. How many times have you thought, well, I should go help that person, but nah, that's okay. I don't have time right now. How many times have you drive past somebody trying to change a flat tire on the road and thought, well, I should stop? Nah, it's all right. It'll get done. I'll tell you a quick story. There was two shuls in a town, where the Jews prayed. One of them was a shul of all rich people. And every year when they had Simchat Torah and Dance with the Torah, they had this huge, beautiful feast and all kinds of good wines and drinks and meat and everything else. And people from the other synagogue, the other shul, would see these people and a little bit envious, but they didn't have enough to have a piece of chicken for each person at the feast or anything in theirs. So the rabbi came up with an idea, the leader. He says, here's what I want you guys to do every week. When you do the Kiddush on Friday night, when the Shabbat is over, whatever little wine is left in the bottle, bring it to the shul. I'm going to put a barrel here and just pour it in. And by Simchat Torah, when a year goes by, we're going to have this huge barrel full of wine. We can have a nice party. We can enjoy. And first week, everybody did it. The second week, and we use, in Hebrew, instead of John Doe, we say Plony, Mr. Plony. I don't know why, I don't even know the meaning of it. Decided, well, this week, why should he do that? He could drink the wine during the week, so he's not going to put it in the barrel. What difference does it make? Everybody else is putting it in, so what difference is my one little contribution going to make in the barrel? The whole year goes by. The rabbi's all excited. He goes to get the barrel, and it feels funny. It doesn't feel full. He cracks open the top of the barrel. He looks in, and there was like a couple of inches covered on the bottom. A couple of inches. And he looks in. He says, what the heck's going on here? What happened was, one guy said, I'm not going to put it in. I'm covered by everybody else. And so did a bunch of other people said the same thing. So in the end, nothing got done because everybody thought everybody else was covering them. Bottom line, we have to do what we have to do. We have to do it in a very precise way. So they were shown, even though they prayed every day and they were good people and everything else, one guy didn't put it in, thinking everybody else was going to cover for him, and then everybody else kind of thought the same way. And because of that, nothing got done. Don't ever think that somebody else is going to do it if you're not going to do it. When I was a car salesman, I never drove by somebody with a flat tire, man or woman. I always stopped, helped them change the tire. You know how many cars that sold me in the end? And they'd send friends. This guy actually stopped and helped me change the tire on a busy highway. And then they would tell their friends, I can't believe this guy did this on a busy highway. And so what did I do? I created something good, and it got spread. And in the end, God paid me back by sending people to me to buy cars from me and help my income. Everything always works if you do it in the right way. Good job, Scotty. You and your wife are doing a good job. I'm sure everybody else is too, but I like the way you did it, and you can actually see the effects of it. It's really good. Terry, what do you want to talk about?
Nothing. You covered it. That was my big question. That was my big question about being precise.
About being precise, yeah.
About being precise in the commandments, and in doing so becoming a pious non-Jew by being precise.
Well, the word is used, righteous of the nations. And every time the word righteous comes up, attached to righteous of the nations, of course, those are non-Jews, instead of saying non-Jews, I like to say nations. When you've done that, and you've gotten that label with God, then you're assured of being part of the next, call it the next world, call it the next level of life, whatever you want to call it. But always remember, and it says it in Ezekiel, what was it, 18? Everybody pays for their own. Blessings, Carla. Good night.
Night. Bye, Carla.
Good
Everybody
night.
stands on their own.
Right.
So you have to do what you have to do. We got a question today from a lady in Texas. She says, you mean there's no generational curses? Of course there aren't. If a person does good their whole life, and this is the way it's stated in the I'm trying to think of Psalms or Proverbs. I don't remember. If someone does good their whole life and at the end of their life repents and does evil, and they die, they're considered a non-righteous person.
That's in Ezekiel 18 also.
Oh, is that Ezekiel 18 also? Okay. But then a person that does bad all their life and at the end repents and does good is considered righteous. And all the bad he did is counted as a merit because it brought him to God. And if you do good your whole life and then repent and do evil, all the good you did, it doesn't go on a scale and says, well, you did more good than you did bad. It doesn't work that way. It's how you are at the time you go to be with Hashem. You never know when that's going to be, do you? Everybody should have a long life until 120, but you just don't know.
Which rabbi was it that said, repent the day before you die?
Yeah, I can't remember. But that's, you're supposed to repent.
It's told his students. It may have been the Baal Shem Tov.
I think it was, actually.
The Baal Shem Tov, it says, repent the day before you die. And his student says, well, how do you know when you're going to die? And that's exactly it.
That's the point.
It's a life of repentance.
Yeah. Anyway, I guess unless somebody else has a question or wants to say anything, I guess we're going to call it a wrap for this week. And
real good class. Thank you.
Well, I appreciate everybody coming. I know it gets a little long, but I could go for hours. But don't forget, if anybody wants to set up any meetings one time or once a month or whatever, just let Shara and I know. We can sit, we can talk, and in some way maybe I can help you get forward, moving forward with your life in a way that's going to be meaningful for you and for Hashem. God bless you all. Thank you for listening in. We appreciate your comments, and subscribe to our video channel, YouTube channel, please. God bless you all.
Good evening. Bye-bye.
Thank you.